So thank you for joining this webinar today. Today's one is all about demystifying what merchant facilities are and payment gateways, and hopefully providing a few tips and tricks along the way as well for cost savings and management, etc. So, okay, so the agenda is today is a bit of a definition of what is an app versus a payment gateway versus a merchant facility, but the definitions what they are. What are the differences between some of the payment gateways and why you might actually select one over another? A lot of people we have are already on an existing system and want to move to payments to us, or they have questions about I've already signed up with one payment gateway with payments to us and what's involved on going to the new one, particularly with regular donors or people making regular installments. Then we'll have a look at a few tips on reducing costs and how you might get through there. I will pause a couple of times during the session. I've got Vish, maybe at logical points if you want to interject where we've got a couple of questions that need answering, and that we'll have a special session on the Q&A towards the end. So thank you. Without further ado, so the first one is going through the definition of what is an app. So in order to take an online payment, you essentially need three key components. They are an app, a payment gateway, and a merchant facility. Now, what I want to do is just spend a couple of minutes of going through what is an app. So an app is basically what payments to us is. That's the thing that has your online forms. It's the thing that generates and sends receipts. We also manage, memberships. Manage the setup of the recurring donations. We kind of create, accounts, contacts, opportunities, and all that sort of stuff. So that's an app that sits natively inside Salesforce. Then when you actually press the Pay Now or the Donate Now button, what we do is, in payments to us, is we connect to a payment gateway. Now, payment gateway is another vendor. We integrate with a number of those. We'll go through what they are in a second. But things like, I'll give you an example, like WinCave, Stripe, Easy Debit, NAB Transact, and the likes. And what they do is, when you press Now, we connect to the payment gateway. The payment gateway connects to the cardholder's bank account. Okay, and I assume everybody can see my screen. Okay, yep, connects to the cardholder's bank account. Now, the bank there will decide whether the person's got funds or not, and if they do, then it will transfer it to the merchant facility, and the payment gateway gets a response back, all is okay. If the cardholders, they've cancelled their account, they don't have funds, etc., the bank will return back to the payment gateway an error message. And that's where we receive that error message and we display on the checkout screen, normally a more sanitized version of the error message, sort of saying basically your payment has failed. The person can retry and put in some more correct their details. They've got the CCV wrong, they've got the expiry date wrong, they've got the card number wrong. Put that in and resend that again, and hopefully the second time it's successful. Now, so this is the payment gateway simply allows us to connect to the cardholder's bank account and gives us a response, yes or no. What you also need here is a merchant facility. And a merchant facility, also known as acquiring, it is more like a line of credit. So when you set up a merchant facility, they are going to ask you a lot more questions than what the payment gateway is going to ask, because they're in effect taking a risk. Now, what happens is they act as like a line of credit. When you apply for a merchant facility, they'll often ask you to see your website. They're often asked to see what are your returns policies, and what sort of goods and services are you trying to charge for, and those sort of things there determine kind of the risk as kind of like they're giving like a loan. And if you sort of said, hey, my returns policy is you can ask for a return for the next 30 years, then that's obviously, a bit of an issue for them, and they'll charge you a higher percentage and things like that. Because they are like a line of credit loan. What happens is merchant facilities will hold on to your funds during the day, and then, generally speaking, on a daily basis, they will then put that into your bank account. Okay, so if you are wanting to have multiple bank accounts, you will need to have multiple merchant facilities. So you can have one payment gateway, but multiple merchant facilities equals bank accounts. Okay, hopefully, hopefully that's and then say it goes into your bank account. So that kind of settles you out for the those three things. I'll just have a quick check here. Vish, was there any questions that kind of related to this? Otherwise, we'll move on.
There are no questions yet. All
Okay,
good.
thanks. Okay, cool. So those are the three components, and we'll go there. What I'm going to do is just quickly flick to, Payments to Us app, and sort of talk about our interpretation. Now, we do call this tab a merchant facility tab, and as you can see here, you can actually run multiple merchant facilities within your one, within your one instance of Salesforce. So you could have Stripe and Easy Debit, for example. Some people do that. Some people have direct debits only for Easy Debit, and then Stripe for just say credit cards. So that would work fine. We've also seen some people will have a bank account that is just for, say, like donations, which is tax deductible, and then they may have another bank account that is for things like memberships and events and things like that that they run. So they'll have two. Generally speaking, we put that there. So this kind of represents, I would say, probably a large proportion of our customers would probably have like a demo facility and would have just one live merchant facility. Okay, so when you go into a merchant facility, the way that we connect to the payment gateway is through these credentials here, and we have obviously like a username and password. So that connects to the merchant facility. Normally those details are actually obfuscated, but I've got that turned on in my instance. So that gives us a username password to connect to that. And like I say, if you had two bank accounts, you probably have two merchant facilities, and you still have the same one payment gateway, but you probably have, or you would have, two username passwords for those as well. And normally speaking, there might be like a little setup fee with the payment gateway system for those two username passwords. Some do, some don't. But that's how we connect, and that's how we know how it all flows through. So related to a merchant facility, you then have your payment form. So you'd have one payment form for one merchant facility and another payment form for another merchant facility. Okay. Now we talked about merchant facility and we talked about the payment gateway. So this one here is more about the payment gateway bit. Just as a recap, when you press the the pay now, the donate now, that goes off to the payment gateway, which connects to the bank holder's bank account. We have a help guide that has what are the differences between the different payment gateways and options. So if you are looking for a particular feature, check that out. We do update that as we add new supported methods for different gateways. So that's the best way to get a comparison. So, for example, some will support Google Pay and Apple Pay, the wallet type things. Some don't. All of our transactions all of our payment gateway will support plus PayPal. So that's a given. So you can have PayPal with any payment gateway. That's that's all okay. Some will support fully automated direct debits. So by that I mean it's like a credit card. So somebody signs up online and agrees to the T's and C's online, and then the charging of that is automatic. If you want, you can do retries, and the ability for an account holder to update their details. If they switch from one bank account to another, you can send them a link to do that. The option for non-fully automated direct debits is to generate the ABA file and to upload that to your internet banking. Now in the US, Canada, and those regions, that's called ACH or like e-check type of things. So some payment gateways will support that, whereas others won't. We have some that will also support direct bank transfer. For those that are familiar with, Poly, that type of thing. So we have one that you can actually log into internet banking that will transact that and then come back into your account straight away, as opposed to somebody sort of saying, hey, I'm going to transfer money to your bank account. They may not do that. They may take a day, they make whatever. So some will actually go automatically through your bank and transfer straight away. Other specialised ones are things like China Union Pay as well. So each of them have their own, little quirks and things like that, and what they do support and what they don't support. So please do check out that help article. Some of the other differences between the payment gateways. Actually, before I go into this, I might just point out the payment gateways that we currently support. We support Windcave, Stripe, Easy Debit, NAB Transact, Westpac Quickstream, DataTrans, Authorise.net, and we're just about to add Global Payments Oceania into version 9.9, which is also the same company that owns Easy Debit and eWay. So some of the differences between those, why you might choose one over the other, is some actually kind of combine the payment gateway and the merchant facility into the one transaction or the one payment. So for payment gateways, you generally pay monthly or annual fee and a per transaction fee. For a merchant facility, because it has that risk factor I mentioned, they're the ones that normally charge you a percentage and a per transaction fee and an annual or monthly fee. So when you get the two together, there can be the option of a little bit of a saving there. So Windcave can work with them doing both, or you could go with basically a merchant facility that you set up through your bank. With the likes of Stripe, they combine both together, and so does Easy Debit. So you can't use those with, say, like another bank. Okay. Some also include Amex with them. So you just say I'd like to have American Express and Diners added. Some of them you have to actually go to Amex and get like another account or merchant facility set up with them as well. So there's kind of like an extra setup. Something else to check is if you're operating in different currencies, and you need that currency, is to check that your payment gateway supports that currency. Again, that's a difference between them. Also, some merchant facilities only support a number of currencies. So if you wanted to, in Australia, it's ANZ is the only one that you can accept. The NAB is the only bank that you can have as a merchant facility that can accept multiple currencies. So like transaction the US dollar one time and then Australian dollars another and NZ dollar another one. In New Zealand, it's only BNZ. So sometimes your merchant facilities can also have some currency dependencies, but those that combine the both would be that as well. Sometimes you may have other systems that are already using a payment gateway. So there can be some pluses and minuses from that. The pluses are that you've already got it. You don't have to go through all that paperwork getting it set up. The minuses is sometimes you may end up getting some of your payments to us transactions plus whatever it is, other systems, transactions all mixed in together, and that can make it hard to kind of say, reconcile. That can also be an advantage and a disadvantage. Some of the payment gateways, when you leave, will not transfer the credit cards that they have securely stored there. As you know, we don't store the credit cards in Salesforce; it's always stored in the payment gateway. So some of them will give that to the next provider, some will not provide that to the next provider. It's something that you can ask your payment gateway before signing up to them. And just before you sort of say that they're being mean or nasty or it's a business thing, it's actually the reason why some of them hold on to the card information and not transfer to the new payment gateway is risk of brand damage. If you were at payment gateway A and they transferred it to payment gateway B, but the cards got out to the general community because they did a mix-up, then all of your donors and or all of your people paying you are familiar with the brand A that they originally signed up, and that's the one that takes the reputational hit. That's what they've told me, and that's the reason why. Some take longer to settle. This is more of the combined one. So most will put the money into your bank account each day. Some like Amex and Diners can be 1 to 2 days after that generally. But some of the payment gateways can be anywhere up to 7 days between taking that initial payment before the money ends up in your bank account. So that's something that you can check on. Okay. Some payment gateways are directly with the banks. If any of the banks are listening in, they're probably not going to like this. My preference is not to have something that is directly tied with a bank. So the bank's name will be in the payment gateway name. My reasons for that is you are then stuck with that bank. When you use a payment gateway like a generic one, that can work with any single bank. So you can start off with all those other ones and have them settle in, say, an ANZ, and then later on you have an argument with ANZ and you move to the NAB. Okay, and maybe there's some cost things. When you have the bank-specific ones, you want to move to the other bank. It is much. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's much more difficult, and that's my personal preference is to avoid those. Okay, some of the payment gateways provide better reporting inside their portals. You shouldn't really need that in effect because we have all that data inside Salesforce, but this comes back more to people that have multiple systems using the same payment gateway and they want to do the reporting in the payment gateway. If you're just using Salesforce, great, you've got much better reporting and dashboard and things like that inside Salesforce, use that. But it's just some of the payment gateways have, I say, better reporting. Also, when you're looking at payment gateways, consider your other needs that you might have. If you've got, F terminals, for example, then you might want to, have a look at, evaluate that at the same time and look at their pricing for that, etc. as well. Cool. So that's on there. Just checking, Vic, any questions?
Yeah, we do have one question from Sonali. She just wants to know if any of the payment gateway resides in Australia.
The ones that reside in Australia? Yeah, so that's a really good question, and maybe we should put that here. So yes, some of them do. I know, I'm pretty sure WinCave does, and I definitely know Easy Debit does. And by extension, I'm not sure about the new Global Payments one, Global Payments Oceania. That could be one to certainly check out, but I'm not sure. Of course, we've got NAB and Westpac Quickstream. I would assume that those are also in Australia or your local country. But certainly check them out. So to answer that question, yeah, there's quite a few choices that are available locally.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you. Thanks.
Cool. Okay. So one of the questions that we get asked quite often, this is normally before people sign up for payments to us. And sometimes we have people that are already using another system on side Salesforce and want to migrate over. Or this can also be applicable for those people that have signed up, existing customers, and then they want to evaluate looking at moving to, another payment gateway because maybe there's some pricing or maybe there's some corporate policy or something like that. The different options here are, if it's the same payment gateway, so like you're going from Stripe to Stripe or from WinCave to WinCave or NAB to NAB, then often what will happen is your existing system will have the token. So on the recurring payment record, we call it the billing token, they'll have that number. For a number of our payment gateways, we have help articles of how to upload those details, and we actually give you, what they might look like and where to find them in your existing gateway. But if you have those, it's just a case of bringing those in and creating a recurring payment record. You need the billing token, some you need the customer profile ID. So those are 2 bits of data information, but you probably already got that information. So that's something that you or your Salesforce consultant can actually upload those quite easily and get them in. So that's the simplest option. It's just data that you're moving around, just like loading a contact. The second one is you're going from one payment gateway to another gateway. What used to happen many years ago is your old payment gateway used to give you, like a CSV list with your credit cards and, expiry dates and all those sort of things. Thankfully, that's pretty rare these days. But what you need to do is you need to speak to your old payment gateway and first of all check to see if they will send the details to the new customer. Okay, sorry, to the new payment gateway, not customer, to the new payment gateway. So if you were going from, say, Stripe to NAB, you'd contact Stripe and say, would you support exporting this? They go, yes, great. Then you go to your NAB contact and you ask for them to, for them and Stripe, the 2 gateways to talk to each other. They will send the cards securely from payment gateway A to payment gateway B, and payment gateway B will give you back those tokenized cards. So they'll give you a token and a reference, and then you get your sales. So then it becomes similar to this. You have the token, and you just simply upload that data into Salesforce. Okay, this option is, like one of the out of the next 3 options is the first option. One is probably the easiest, the best option. Option 2 is the second best option, and what we find is going from one payment gateway to another payment gateway, the chances of the card being successfully charged after that is much more successful, okay, than, say, an option of option 4, okay? And the reason is because things like expiry dates, some of them, when they upload them, they can kind of ignore that it's expired already, and things like that. They have some special things here. If option 2 is not available, then what you can do is you can, if you've got your old system and you've got time, what you can do is still run your transacting in your old system, but all the card details and expiry dates and things like people's credit cards are going to expire every 3 years. The chances are somebody's going to lose or cancel their card within that period of time. So when that happens, or brand new people come on, then you get them to sign up with your new system, so your new payments trust form. So you're kind of running down the old system and ramping up your new system. That way you don't have to kind of contact your donors. What we have seen is people have also run campaigns as well, because what a lot of people are quite scared, particularly in the charity things, is if you're corporate, you can just say, hey, look, we'll move system and this is our new way of doing things. But charities often don't want to contact their donors for fear that they may cancel. So the run down, run up thing is works. But they can also sometimes run a cool down campaign as well. And what they do is they sort of say, hey, look, thanks very much for your support. We have done all these amazing things thanks to your donations, this and this and this. and we noticed that you signed up, 8 years ago, and you were $10, a month then. Given inflation and all that sort of stuff, would you consider upgrading? And they go, yes, I would love to give you some more. And they go, oh, can I grab your card details at that stage? So then you kind of get them to kind of re-sign up and approve it then. Obviously, people have got to have trust in your organisation. Another option is to say, send them the, card update, card failed link, as opposed to doing it over the phone. The fourth option here, and this is one here, is our import files can import cards and CCVs, but it won't actually save it inside Salesforce, and will then tokenize the cards, and then can set up for regular giving from then on. Or if the third party is giving you the tokens, that's another way of bringing them into the system. So one here is to use like a Salesforce consultant to create things. Another way is to use our import files to load the tokens and set that up. We have a video on that, and we also have some help guides that specifically talk you through using tokens and importing them into Salesforce. Cool, I'm conscious of the time, so let's go through this. Some tips for reducing costs. One is to shop around. If your volumes have increased, the dollar values have increased, then go back to your merchant facility. That's probably the one that's going to have the most, and sort of say, hey, look, we're now doing this. How about giving us thing? I'd suggest probably doing that once every year, and you'd be surprised. Most of them will do that. Some of them will do like a bit of a clawback a few months later and say, hey, we've had a price increase, and you can just go back. That is an option. I talked about the same payment gateway, but different acquire, say it's merchant facility. So you could be using WinCave with, say, ANZ as your acquirer. What you can do there is sort of, rather than using that, is now you can get ANZ replaced with WinCave themselves, do the merchant facility, so you can ask them direct, or you could go to NAB or Westpac or something like that and sort of say, hey, how much would you charge us for this number of transactions going through to here? So that is an option. Remember, you will need to provide a lot of information to it. On our payment forms, we have retry codes. The payment gateways won't tell us exactly what a failed code is and which ones you should retry. Just have a look at your transactions in the past, which ones have worked, which ones haven't. But you can actually put like a list of ones to retry. I think internally we have like 0151. Everyone else is kind of like pickup card, so there's no point doing that. Remember, you get charged sometimes per try as well, not for successful transactions. So if you have that set to 10 and it's pickup card, you're just wasting your money. We also have a feature in payments to us which cover the transaction fees, and enable that. That way you get payments to us basically for free, and whatever else the acquirer has done. Something like 80% of people will leave that ticked on if you're doing for donations, and obviously, corporates, you can make it mandatory that they have to pay it as well. For NFPs, there's a thing with the payment gateway, so merchant facility, that's called an interchange fee. It's supposed to be free of charge for Australian banks. Sometimes we've seen that banks are still being charging that, so just go back and ask your merchant facility if they are charging an interchange fee. If they are, and you're an NFP, say, can you please waive that as per that? Some merchant facilities or acquirers will actually allow you to ignore expiry dates. Again, that's based on a risk, reward things. It's only for reoccurring charging, right? You have to have the expiry date for sign-up or card updates, but you can let it go past if it's a regular giving. So that's how come, gym memberships and that can keep going past your card expiry date without you telling them. And that's bang on 12:30. We've had a couple of questions. Is there anything more? Okay, awesome.
Yep.
I think that's it. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Keep those suggestions coming for next sessions. We love love ideas and feedback. Have a good afternoon. Enjoy your lunch.